On this episode of Narcissist Apocalypse, we talk with an abuse survivor named Canva. And Canva was in a toxic relationship with a smear campaigning abuser. It's a story of defensive abuse, gaslighting, recording conversations, and taking zero responsibility. Welcome to Narcissist Apocalypse, everyone. I am Brandon Chadwick, and with me today we have Canva. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I am doing well, thank you. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing well, and today we're going to hear your story of your relationship, of your abusive relationship, and I just really want to thank you for being here with us today. It's not easy to do this, and you're going to share with everyone and help a lot of people. So big thank you for being here, Canva. And now, without further ado, Canva, the floor is now yours.
So growing up, I guess my parents' relationship as they're still together today. They've been married. They just had their 33rd wedding anniversary. It was a very traditional kind of relationship as far as gender roles go. My dad worked, he commuted, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom with us until I was in 6th grade, and then she went back to work as a teacher. So I have an older brother and a younger sister. We're all very close in age. Their relationship, they never argued. They had disagreements, but they would never argue in front of us. They were always very candid. They would always go into the other room to have discussions. They never saw us. They never wanted us to see them having any kind of disagreement, which I always kind of appreciated. But also, I feel like I never really learned how to have those kind of constructive conversations, where and even today, I feel like my mom really struggles with any kind of confrontation. So it's difficult to have just any kind of conversation where we disagree,
So did you inherit that characteristic of, in a way, letting things slide?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I always kind of had a fear of bringing up any kind of disagreement, I just feel like if I was struggling with something or it was really difficult to bring it to either one of them, just because my dad was kind of he was very kind, but he was kind of not really emotionally available. And my mom, I feel like anytime I had any kind of conflict, she would just not be able to articulate her feelings. I feel like she would take it personally and get really upset that I was feeling this way. So I kind of just learned to not bring up any kind of conflict with her.
So you were conflict avoidant because you felt that your feelings would be minimized in a way or not validated, and
right,
and then that would most likely make you feel worse than you felt before, which then would just pile on top of anything. So instead of ever saying anything, you became voiceless in a way, and feeling that your feelings don't matter, and also that your feelings are just not valid in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just didn't really have, it would make me feel worse, right? So like, I would be like, oh, I'm really struggling with this. And then, it's like, oh, like, how could you do this to me? Like, you're a terrible person. Like, like, how could you bring this conflict, like, to me and my family, like, I don't feel like I was ever able to, like feel any kind of way other than like good, like if I was ever like feeling sad or like, upset, like it like became like everyone's problem, so, I kind of just learned to keep those kinds of things to myself.
So just being vulnerable in general about anything. Did you hide other things because you didn't want them to be issues with others? Like if you had like a boyfriend or anything like that, or even maybe when you were going through puberty or anything, which is embarrassing for a lot of kids, or things that they might not want to talk about. Were these things that you felt like you could share, or these things that you're hiding?
No, I absolutely hid them. There were several traumatic events in high school. Like I was sexually assaulted. I was struggling with an eating disorder. Like I had a group of friends that began harassing me, and I wasn't able to talk to them about any of it. I just kind of dealt with it on my own. But I mean, other than that, they were really great parents. They were very active in Scouts. They coached soccer teams and t-ball. I was in piano lessons, and we did Awanas. I did dance every night of the week throughout high school. So they were very active and involved that way, just emotionally very, very unavailable.
And as far as your self-worth during your high school years, did you have any?
No. Actually, my brother actually growing up was pretty emotionally abusive towards me. He would call me fat and like just tease me all the time, about pretty much everything. So I developed like an eating disorder, and I've always really struggled with like my self-worth and my self-image. So.
And during that time when you're struggling with that, what are ways that you are trying to gain worth? Or are you able to?
I mean, no, I don't think I was ever able to. I don't know. I just feel like I kind of tried to check out,
Okay.
A lot of the time I just, and that's something still that I struggle with, is like coping strategies, healthy coping mechanisms. I try to distract myself from the problem instead of dealing with it. So I think a lot of my high school was spent trying to avoid everything that was going on.
And did you have relationships with people in high school or even after high school? And what is your do you have like a Christian belief system? Do you have any belief systems that could run you as far as relationships go?
I was raised in the church. We went to an Episcopal church, which is like Catholic light for those of you who aren't familiar with that. I am no longer religious. I don't affiliate with any kind of religion. And as far as relationships go, I didn't really have relationships at all until I was like 19 was my first real relationship. I didn't have any kind of desire to get into any of that. It just seemed like a lot of drama in high school, you know.
And were you someone who thought of a white picket fence type of family, or I have to stay in relationship, like relationships take work, so if something's wrong, like things along those lines, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like going back to my parents' example, you know, like they disagreed on a lot of things, you know, but it was always like divorce has never been on the table. It's never been an option. You know, it's like, here's two people and they made a commitment and they work together to find a solution and they're going to make things work, you know? And that was always my belief, you know, it's like we love each other. We have we're in this relationship. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to like make things right. You know, and like, I guess like, I didn't really understand that, like, that's not enough, you know, like, cause it has to be both parties, you know, that are willing to put in the work. It's just, sometimes you can do everything right. And, if the other person doesn't want to put in the work, then it's not going to work.
So you've gone through high school. You've had a lot of bad things happen, in the sense of the assault. You have your coping mechanism partly would be an eating disorder. You don't really have that much worth, so now you kind of go out into the world, and eventually you do meet who this story is about. So I guess begin with telling us how you met this person and go from there.
So my aunt and cousins have a farm, and they do, they have a lot of seasonal work. So I was going up to work for them, and they needed several other people for this particular job. So I had invited a friend of mine, and I said, if you have any other friends who are available and need work, like, feel free to bring them. So my friend brought along this person.
How old are you at this time?
I was 22, I believe.
Okay.
22. Yeah. So they came up, there was a group of, I think, 6 of us, and we were all staying there and working on the farm, living on the farm. And I just like instantly, felt connected to this person, like in a way that I didn't like I didn't even know was possible. And it's like, it's difficult to explain. It's just, like, it was so deep and so intense and so instant. Like, I just felt like I had known him for like, you know, like, all like, I just felt like I had been waiting for him, you know. It's just like, oh, like, here you are, you know. And it was just, he just felt like my person, you know, like I feel like, wow, like I feel, like it was just like, this is it, you know, like, this is my person. And I just, like, everything he said, just like aligned with my beliefs, and we wanted all the same things, you know, like, and he was like adventurous and funny and like just fun to be around. And it was just, everything was just so like lighthearted, and like, we're just laughing and like playing. And, this is who I want to be. Like, I just, like, I enjoyed like myself when I was around him. Like he just has this way of like making you feel like special, you know? And, yeah, everything I said, like, I didn't feel like I was being judged. He would tell me things like, about like his goals and like everything. And I was just like, yeah, like this is what I want. Like this. And it was just, we were just so aligned, like perfectly on everything, you know, like, and we wanted all the same things. And yeah, I just felt like so free to like express myself and like be myself. And I just felt like accepted and understood, and just like, and I just remember like lying there, and it had only been like a week, and like in my head I was just like, I love this person. Like I have never loved anyone or anything. Like I just like I didn't know that this love was kind of like, that this kind of love was possible. You know, it was like so deep and so intense. And I just like knew that I would be spending the rest of my life with this person. And then like, but like in my head, it's like, I don't even know him. Like, this is crazy, you know, like I just met him, and like, then it had only been like maybe like a week, and like we were lying next to each other, and he turned to me and he said like, do you love me? 'Cause I feel like you love me. And I said, yeah, I think I do. And he said, I love you too. And then like, we were just like inseparable, you know, like we just spent all of our time together. And that was it. Like he was my person. And like, you know, he had talked about, like wanting to like settle down and like, you know, build roots. 'Cause both of us had been, kind of traveling. But yeah, we were both just ready to settle down. And like, he had wanted to go to school and like start a career and all these things. And, like we had made plans to do that, you know, but at the same time, like he was so adventurous, which is something, and like spontaneous, which is something that I really loved about him. You know, like he had just got back from, this like bike tour, and like where he had gone like all the way up and down like the coast of California and Oregon. And like, you know, like I was so excited to like settle down, but also like explore and like go on adventures with him. And like, I was just, I don't know, like looking back, like that time, I think it's like the happiest I've ever been, you know? And just like so excited for the future, you know?
You were two lost souls that were meeting each other, and you felt that you wouldn't be lost anymore.
Exactly. I felt safe, and I felt like for the first time, like in my life, I felt like everything was going to be okay. You know, it's just like, oh, I found my person, and you know, like this is it. Like, I feel like I can like begin like living my life in the way that I want, you know, because I have this person to like, to do it with me, to do life with me, you know, like I just felt so safe and secure at that time, you know?
So after that time working on the farm, how did things progress from there?
So after that, I had made plans to go and work for the winter season at a resort. I wanted to get a job as a snowboarding instructor. It was just something that I had wanted to do. So he was like, of course, like, I want to come with you, you know? So we had made this plan to like go up for the next few months and work on this resort together. And I had actually, one of my old bosses, I used to work as like a seaweed harvester, and my boss at that time, she was selling like an RV, and I was like, let's just buy this RV and we'll go up and we'll like live on the mountain and we'll like work for the season, and you can come with me and we'll just like spend the whole winter like on the mountain, right? So we did that, and then the RV that I bought ended up like catching on fire, and it was like this whole thing. So I had to buy like another one. So I had purchased like 2 RVs, and we like made our way up the mountain. We like found a park that we could stay at for the winter. We were like the only ones in the park, and we were both just spending all of our time on the mountain. And it was like really just the two of us in our RV. It was fun. I mean, like, we didn't argue, like there was no issues. Like, it was still just, we were just having fun. But I feel like the first red flag here was that he didn't have any money for rent. And like, it was confusing to me because like we had both worked the same job in the same place for the same amount of time. And we both got paid the same amount. And I hear, like, I had already purchased 2 RVs and I still had money for rent, Like, so I was just where's your money? Like, why am I paying rent? Like, for both of us, in the RV that I bought. So that was like, I feel like that was really like the first big red flag, that I should have said something, but like at that point it was just like, oh, like everything was still just like so wonderful, like we were still just like getting along and having fun and like everything was fine. So like I just did it because like he said he didn't have any money. So like, I don't know, So we were kind of looking for the next place to go. And my parents had like a vacation home outside of this town that I really loved. And so I said, like, why don't we move there? Like, we could stay in the vacation house until we find jobs and like get, we can use this as like a launch pad. So we ended up doing that. And again, like we moved in and it just, I don't know. I think I've always struggled with depression. So I think at this point, like, I don't know, he just wasn't wanting to like engage or interact with me or like spend time with me. And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of confusing and hurtful because it's like, we're here together, like we're having this new like experience, adventure, like let's go and explore. But like he wasn't wanting to look for work and he wasn't wanting to do anything. He would just like watch movies like all day. And like I thought, oh, maybe like he's depressed or frustrated because like it's a difficult transition. I don't know. But then we ended up moving into the city. I wanted to move into separate houses just because I didn't want to be it's important for me in a relationship to have like your own friends and your own hobbies and your own life, right? So like I didn't want to move in and I feel like it would be limiting to like I wanted to have like our own interests and ideas and our own view of the city that we can share with each other, right?
So here we are at the 6-month mark. You this relationship began. You are experiencing a feeling that you've never experienced before, and it's something that you were always looking for. You found it in this person, and things start right out of the gate. You've said I love you pretty quickly, both of you have, and you are moving at a really fast rate, and then you do something, and also there's the one red flag when it came to rent. Then there's a little bit of a withholding, would you say, or just like a separation from your connection a little bit when you're at your parents' place, and now here you are moving to a town, and within that you are doing the mature thing, and you're saying to yourself, we need to be more independent, and now you want to get the separate residences, because you feel that that is the healthiest thing to do as far as your relationship would go in the long run of things, which is, especially at your age, at the time, that's not an easy thing to understand, but you felt it to be the right thing to do. So, first of all, good awareness of that, and from that point, what happens from here?
We both end up finding our own places. Things are going great. I had 2 jobs. I was working at 2 different restaurants, and we were both going to community college. We were both going to the same school. He chose not to work and was taking out student loans to pay his rent, which, that's a choice. And here I feel like was another really big red flag, where he started having these phone conversations with an ex-girlfriend. And I was never a jealous person. And he'd be like, oh, we grew up together and she lives states and states away. I just am wanting to stay connected with her. But I would go to his house and he would be on the phone with her for an hour at a time. And I would just be sitting there, waiting for him to get off the phone with his ex-girlfriend. And it's I understand you have girlfriends, I have guy friends, some of my best friends are males, and it's I don't anticipate you to just stop talking to your childhood friends because you're in a relationship. But I just felt that was a lot, a lot. I just felt really uncomfortable with that. Especially because, later, and we'll get into this, but later, he would leave, or we would be separated for long periods of time, and I would try to call him, and he'd say oh, I just really don't like talking on the phone. I just really, and he would hang up after only a couple of minutes. So that was okay, but you are on the phone with your ex-girlfriend for an hour at a time. How does that, that doesn't really add up for me, But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. He just didn't like the living situation he was in. And after about 3 months, he decided that we should move in together, because he was miserable at this place. We ended up moving into a 3-bedroom house, and I think it was a week after we had moved into this house. I don't even think we had finished unpacking. I found out that I was pregnant with our son. So, and he had actually wanted kids, but then, after I got pregnant, it was there was a switch, it was really, it seemed to happen overnight, where, we just started arguing all the time. And it was anything I said or did, he would accuse me of being crazy. Oh, you're crazy. You're so hormonal. You're just pregnant, and nothing you do or say makes sense. It's everything, I was just completely and totally invalidated, because I was crazy and hormonal. And I just couldn't even have a conversation, without being accused of being hormonal and crazy. And it was just so bizarre, because up until that point, we had not even argued about anything, and now all of a sudden we were arguing about every little thing, and it was just stupid little things, and it was who even cares? But then you'd be oh, well, you're acting crazy, and it's oh, okay, I felt I really couldn't say or do anything without being accused of being crazy hormonal. So that's really when it started, after I got pregnant. And then, from there, I felt like I needed to save up some money. So I had gone back to the farm that we were originally on, so I could save up as much money as I can, so that after the baby comes, I could stay home. But it was like in a different state, and while I was gone, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we got kicked out of our house for some reason, for whatever reason. I don't know. I wasn't there. But then because he didn't have a job or any income, he couldn't find another place to live. So we had to move out. And I wasn't able to come back and get like another job because I was pregnant. So we ended up moving back to my hometown. My dad, he had built this, we have like an alleyway behind our house, and he had built this like 2-story garage, and above it was like, it was like an apartment, but it was unfinished. So he decided that he was going to finish it for us, and he had insulated sheetrock. He put a bathroom in there and like a little kitchen, and we were going to live in there. But during this time, like my ex, he was kind of just like very absent, which I thought was so strange, because like my parents are doing like all of this work for us and like getting a place for us to live and spending like thousands of dollars like fixing up this place, and he had no desire to like help in any way, and he would just like be gone. Like I don't even know where he went. He would just be like gone. And I was just like at my parents' house during this time.
So eventually he gets a job, correct?
He got a job on a different farm, and he would wake up really early in the morning, and he would leave at like 5 a.m. and then he would come home and he would just pretty much go straight to bed. Maybe he'd like watch a movie. But like during this time, it was just, I just didn't really see him. Like he had no interest in spending any time with me or the baby after the baby was born. Like I would wake up and I would make him coffee and lunch so he could like spend some time in the morning with the baby, but like he would just lay there in bed, and then like he would just come home and like watch a movie and go straight to bed. Like there was not like any interaction with me or our son like during this time. And so that was like the first like 2 months after my son was born. I felt like I was really doing everything on my own, He wouldn't wake up to help in the night. He wouldn't help with the diapers or like anything like that. I was like really, and he would say, like, oh, like the baby just wants his mom. Like I can't, there's nothing I can do, and then after the first 2 months, he left to go work on the farm. He was gone for about 6 months. So really the first 8 months, I was just completely on my own with the baby. And he said that he had wanted to go work on the farm so that he could save up money so that we can get our own place. And during this time, he said that he wanted to go back to school. So he wanted to move to a different town that was about 6 hours away from where we were. So I ended up moving there with the baby without him about 2 months before. And I knew some friends over there, so I was able to get like a little cabin for us. And then he ended up joining us about 2 months later. But like he was gone for 6 months. And when he came back, he only had like $2,000 saved. So like he had just missed out on like 8 months of like his son's first year for $2,000, you know? And I was, so that was really like kind of heartbreaking. Oh, I had forgotten an incident. So before he had left, like when we were there, like he would make a lot of jokes about like shaken baby syndrome. And like he would be like, oh, shaken baby syndrome, and like pretend to shake the baby, and like just like really concerning things like that, you know, that made me like not really want him to be around the baby. And like he would put on like metal music really loud. Like anytime the baby started crying, he would just like, and like the one time I think I was like in the house and my dad said he had walked into the garage, which was below the apartment, and he heard him just like screaming at the top of the lungs at his baby to like be quiet. So it was just like not nurturing like in any way towards this baby. And it was just really concerning. And then there was an incident. I don't even know what we were fighting about, but the baby was still pretty young at this point, and he was asleep in his little crib next to the bed. And he started like shouting and like throwing things. He slammed my French press, which had shattered. And I was on the bed, and he told me to get off the bed. And I was like, no, I'm not getting off the bed. Like there's broken glass and like you're screaming. And he was trying to pull me off the bed. And we had one of those beds with like the 4 posts. And I had grabbed onto the post. So like he couldn't pull me off the bed. And he pulled me so hard that it had snapped. And this was like, you know, it was about like 6 inches. Like it was a pretty like hefty like post, you know? And it just, like I said in the beginning, like he's so charismatic and charming, and like he makes you feel like the most special person in the world. And then there'd be like a disagreement, and it was just like this switch, you know? Like it just this like volatile, like this person, and like it didn't make sense to me, you know? Like just trying to put these two people like, or the, you know, it was like Jekyll and Hyde, you know? Like there was like this person that I loved, and then there was this person who was behaving this way, you know? And it was hard for me like to rationalize how they could possibly be the same person, you know? And I think like the reason why like myself and like a lot of other victims of like domestic violence like don't speak out is because like it's like embarrassing like that we put up with this kind of stuff, that we stayed through it. And I think it's hard to accept that like this person that you love so much, and like this person that is so charming, and like it can make you feel like the most special person in the world, like that's who you love, and that's who you want to be with, right? And then there's this person, and just like the cognitive dissonance that you experience in these types of situations, like trying to rationalize how they can possibly be the same person, you know? Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't know. So, back to this little cabin. We had only been there for like a couple of months. He ended up getting a job on a flower farm, And he worked there for about a week. And he decided that he hated it so much that he just didn't want to work there or anywhere at all. And he quit. So at this point, our son was still a baby. He was still breastfeeding. And I had to go to work because he didn't want to work. So I got a job in a casino. The town we were living at, there really wasn't anything there. It was just like a cafe, a bar, and a casino. So I had got a job as a cocktail waitress in the casino, and I was working from 6 at night until 2 in the morning so that I could be with my son during the day. And I would pump on my lunch break, and I would come home, and I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, because that's when my son woke up. He would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and so I would wake up with the baby so that their dad could sleep in. Even though I had been working until like 2 o'clock in the morning, he said that he needed his sleep, and that he couldn't get out of bed without coffee. So he wouldn't get out of bed until I had made him a French press. And then, so we had lived there for about 2 months, and I was tired. I felt completely unsupported in every way. And I told him, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I can't, something has to change. Like, I'm tired, and like, I can't continue living like this. And I was dressed for work. I was on my way out the door, and I realized that my car keys were missing. Then I see him throw my phone into a blackberry bush. And then I had gone back in the house, and I had realized that all of the cash, all of the tips that I had saved for rent that month were also missing. And he had hid my keys. He had taken my money and my phone. And he had told me that he was going to get me fired from my job. And that when he takes me to court to take our son from me, that we would be on an equal playing field because we were both unemployed. And our house was pretty secluded. It was several miles to town or to anything. So I was trapped. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't call anyone. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any transportation. I was trapped there. He trapped me. And he was threatening to take my son away. And I just have never been so angry. And I ended up, I don't know. I'm not saying that what I did was right, but I ended up smashing his car window. I was just I was boiling with rage. And I had never been so angry, and I'm embarrassed to like admit it, but, I just felt trapped, and I didn't know what to do. So, I mean, he wasn't in the car. Like, let's make that very clear. He wasn't in the car. But then he called the cops on me and said, "Oh, she's going crazy. She's like smashing our windows for no reason, like blah, blah, blah." And the cops come, and like, I look like a crazy person, you know? Mm-hmm. But I'm sure you know very well about reactive abuse. I would have called the cops if I could, but my phone was in a blackberry bush. So the cops made him give me my stuff back, and yeah, and then it's like you want to be upset at the situation, but then it's like you have all this guilt about like reacting the way that you did. It's like, oh, like yes, he held me prisoner and he threatened to get me, like he tried to get me fired and threatened to take my kid away. But I reacted in this way. So I'm also like a terrible person, you know? But then of course, you know, from his perspective, like he won't admit to any of the things that he did. I just like went crazy and smashed his window for no reason, you know? People ask like why I didn't leave, but it's like he had me convinced that I was the problem, you know? So shortly after that, he ended up having a conflict with the landlord's daughter where he screamed at her over the phone, and we got kicked out of our house again. So for the second time, we are getting kicked out of our house. And so I ended up finding a place in town, downtown. It was a cute little 3-bedroom. And at this time, like, he still wasn't working. He was going to school. So he said he couldn't work while he was going through school. So, which we know is not true. But you know, like, I wanted to support him in that. Like, yes, I want you to go through school. I want you to like achieve your goals. So I was working in the evenings and, I was paying our rent. You know, it was really frustrating because like I was struggling to like pay the rent and the utilities and buy the groceries, and like he every day had like beer and cigarettes, and he had a membership to the rock climbing gym, and like every day like I was at home taking care of the baby and he was like rock climbing and like, you know, again, like I just felt like very, very alone.
So here we have, you are struggling in the sense of being tired, mentally exhausted. You're taking care financially of a lot of things here. You're not able to spoil yourself in any way. You are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, most of the heavy lifting going on. And then you also have this other person who is living their best bachelor life, even though they're married and have a child. They're doing as little as possible in a sense as far as breadcrumbing a situation where it might look like you can't officially say, hey, you're not doing anything, because he does take care of the child sometimes, but it's not an even split in any way whatsoever. He's already shown that he's lazier, doesn't like to do things. Technically here, it might sound like you're living with a teenager who throws tantrums when they do not get their way. So you're getting this version of someone who is the person you fell in love with and you loved, and the heroin addiction, a part of the aspect of the relationship comes in, of that initial thing that you held onto, that you grasp onto, that you can see here and there, that you can come back to. But then there are these rages that occur of this person that you did not know existed at all, and now they're doing extremely abusive thing. They're stealing from you. They're they are taking your car keys away. You're isolated in this situation. They're threatening you. There's these intimidation factors that are going on as well. And then when you do react to this situation this one time, that becomes a kernel of truth within you, within possibly a story that he can tell. Remember that time you did this and this, which can now really twist you backwards. And now you're in a spot here where he's been able to get away with what he's been able to get away with, which is a lot of not pulling his weight. He's been able to be abusive in situations. He's, running the roost here. And when you did say that you wanted to leave, again, his or that there were issues, the rage happened. So now you're in this spot where I assume you don't want to see that rage come back. You're angry, but there is a fear here, and you're stuck at this moment because of the cognitive dissonance that is going on, and fear of your children being taken away. I mean, who would not be afraid of that? Fear of you losing that job that is keeping the food on the table for all these things. So he has you in a spot right here, and like this is a really where you are right now is a scary spot to be in.
Yeah, like you said, like it just you can see the person that you fell in love with, and you can see how they're treating others in your life, and how special they make those people feel, and they have these talents and these abilities, and like you still see like this potential in this person, and like you just want to get back to that initial feeling, right? Like you just, and then you start sacrificing like parts of yourself, like, oh, maybe like if I do this or if I do that, like, like we can get back to this point, and you start letting things slide, because you don't want the arguments, right? Like you just want to get back to that point. I would get frustrated because, not only am I like paying the bills and doing the grocery shopping and cooking and cleaning, like our son was like, I use cloth diapers. So it was at the laundromat like every other day, and like he didn't cook. Like we were together for like 5 years, and like the amount of times that he cooked for us, I could count on one hand, So like I would cook dinner for him and the baby, and then go to work, and I would come home and the sink would be full of dirty dishes. And, it's like, okay, like the very least you can do is like wash the dishes. And then, like you get so sick of like talking about the dishes. And then, it's like, okay, like I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Like, don't even like, I'll just wash the dishes because I'm sick of arguing about it, Like, and so you end up like making sacrifices in that way just to keep the peace, and then like, I just didn't want to argue about it. So you just end up doing everything because otherwise there's conflict, So, and then, like I said, like I was supporting him so that he can go to school. But then again, like he ends up leaving to like go work on the farm and like dropping all of his classes. And I think at the end of like this like 1.5 year long period, he had finished like one Spanish class. So I've been supporting him this whole time so that he can focus on school. And then he wasn't even focusing on school, and like he had come back at the end of like several months. So again, like I was on my own, like taking care of the baby, like paying his rent, like doing all this by myself. And then he had come back and he gave me $300, which I was so grateful for, and like our rent at this time was $1,250. So like that wasn't even half of his half of the rent, this $300. But still I was like, yes, thank you so much. Like, I'm so excited. There was this bike that I really wanted to get. And I was like, I think I'm going to buy this bike. I have like this extra $300, And then he was like, you know what? Actually, like I need that money back. And I was like, what? Like, I've been paying your rent for over a year, and this isn't even half of your half, and like you're asking for the money back. And it was just like this whole ordeal. And I was like, no, like it's my money now. Like you gave it to me, like, and just like based on principle, it's like why should I give you this money back? Like I just, the very least you can do is like, I don't know. And so I just refused, like, I'm not giving you the money back. And so I have this it's like a mahogany Martin brand guitar. I paid like $1,200 for it. He took it to the pawn shop and he pawned it, and he made me go pay to get it out. so that he can get his money back in that way, you know? And like, like it's just so, like, who does that? Who does that? Like, and you know, and it's like, I loved that guitar so much, you know, like I bought it when I was like 19 years old, and I worked really hard to get that. And I still, like, I can't even play it. Like, I can't get rid of it because it's so special to me, but I can't play it because now there's this like trauma attached to it, you know? So then he decides that he's done going to school, he's done living here, and he wants to move again. So he wants to start a farm. So he moves, he just leaves. He doesn't help me pack. He doesn't help me, like all of these times that we've moved, he's never helped me pack or unpack or physically move anything. Like he just left. And for me and the baby to pack up and move all of our things and move the 6 hours back. So he went to this town like a couple months ahead of us to go and find a place. And so I think in that time I'd temporarily been staying with my parents. And he was in the new town that he wanted to live in, and he was staying in with a friend. They had like this little cabin on their property. So the baby was like less than 2 years old. I think he was like almost 2, but we had gone and we'd only been there for a couple of days. And like he had been working at this restaurant with a bunch of like young girls, like in their early 20s, young women. And we were sleeping one night, and his phone starts ringing in the middle of the night, and it's this woman that he worked with, you know. And he didn't answer it, but the next day I was like, hey, like why is she calling you in the middle of the night? You know, like why does she think that that's okay? Like, does she know that we even exist? Like, did you tell her that you have a family? Like, why? Like, you know, I don't mind that she has your number, like your coworkers, but like, why is she calling you in the middle of the night? You know? And he just kept defending her. Like, oh, like, you're crazy, like, you're blowing this out of proportion. She didn't do anything wrong, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, the whole day, like, just defending her. And it was just really frustrating, you know? It's like you're not validating me, you're not making me feel like supported, you're not like reassuring me in any way. Like, you're just defending this person. And like it just made me feel really insecure. And then he had, like, we were in the main house like that whole day at that point, and then he had gone to the little cabin. I'd waited for maybe like an hour to like let things kind of cool down, and I was holding the baby. He was asleep at that point, and I had gone into the cabin, and he was in there watching a movie, and I had gone to go get in the bed, and before I could get in the bed, before I could say anything, he just shoves me and the baby into the wall, and the baby ends up hitting his head on the wall, and he's crying. And like, again, like I just snapped, and I hit him. You know, and like again, like I'm not condoning this at all, but like I had just, like, he shoved me and my baby into a wall, and like it was just like, again, like it doesn't make sense, you know? And then again, he had called the cops on me, and the cops came, and he had said like, oh, she just started attacking me for no reason, you know? When it's like, no, like we had this like disagreement all day, and then out of nowhere you shoved me and the baby into the wall. And he just completely denied everything, and just like oh, like even our friends we were staying with, like, oh, she's crazy. Like she just snapped and attacked me for no reason, and again, like threatening, like, oh, like you're going to get your kid taken away. Like all this stuff. Like now, like I have this police record of you attacking me and like you're a violent person. And like, I just, again, like none of it makes sense, And I think another part of like why it's been so difficult to share, because it doesn't make sense. Like none of it makes sense. Like why would any person, I don't know. It felt like we were like coexisting in like alternate realities, like where his version of reality and the reality that I was experiencing were just so vastly different, and then again, like, like, oh, like I reacted in this way and now he's threatening to take my kids away. So you stay because like, how can I possibly leave my kid and then have to share it with this person? Like, how can I do that? I don't know. So I stayed and we ended up moving into this house and starting a farm. And again, like he had no money. So myself and our friend funded the farm. We bought all the seeds, the irrigation, like the tools, everything that we needed for this farm. And I feel like this part of our story was the most emotionally manipulative. I felt really really isolated in this house. He began telling me these stories of things that people were saying about me, and like it was just really confusing because he would say like very specific things, like this person and this person told me that they don't like you because all you do is talk badly about me when I'm not around. And I would think like, wow, like I don't remember saying anything at all about you to them at all, and then I would start questioning like, wow, like, did I say that? Like, did I say something? And then, like there was a couple, he told me like, oh, like they don't like you because they think you're really mean and they would never let you babysit their kids. But they would let me babysit their kids. And I'm like, wow, like I barely know these people. Like why would they think that I'm mean? And he would have these stories about everyone in the community, and like it just convinced me that everyone hated me. And so like every time like I would leave the house, it's like how do you interact with these people? That when everyone hates you, like you're going into this community and like trying to like establish yourself and like make friends and make connections, but you're being told by the person that you love that everyone hates you. And so it was really hard. It was really hard to exist, like in a place where everyone allegedly hates you,
When these things started happening, did you have anyone in a support system at all outside of this that you were able to talk to at all? Or was that just not a thing you were willing to do because this is the only person that understood you in a way?
I was working at a restaurant and there were two women that I would confide in. But he knew this and he forbid them from coming over. He said that I'm not allowed to have them at my house, that they know too much and that he's not comfortable having them around. And I remember him telling me, like, so we were in the kitchen and he said, like, these people aren't allowed to come over. Like, do you comply? And I was like, do I comply? Like, what? He was like, yes, like you need to comply. Like, you need to obey. Like, you need to agree with me. Wow. Like, that's so strange. But, yeah, again, you know, like you end up agreeing and like just following along because you don't want conflict. Right. So yeah, I guess, like, because what's the alternative? Like,
so what happens from here?
I ended up leaving. I broke up with him and I had gone back to live with my parents. And
so question, what led up to that breakup?
At this point, I think I had just had enough. Like, I was so lonely and heartbroken all the time, you know, like I wasn't allowed to leave. I wasn't allowed to have friends over. Like, he was gone all the time. Like, he would go to his friend's house and I was just alone at the house, like, all the time. And then he would come home and like, he would just be watching movies. Like, he would watch like 3 movies a night. And I would just be like sitting there like, hey, like, do you want to like go sit outside or like do something? Like, we can play a game. We can do anything. And he was just not interested in interacting with me in any way. And like, I would be like, oh, like, let's go do this. Like, there's an event, like, let's go do this. And like, it's just like, he never wanted to do anything with me. He never wanted to be seen with me. And I felt like he was embarrassed by me, you know, like everyone hates me. And like, my own partner is like embarrassed to be seen with me, you know, like, and then yeah, like, even when he was there, he was like not there, you know, like he wouldn't interact with me. He wouldn't engage with me. And again, like, I was doing everything by myself. Like, I would put the baby to bed and it was so heartbreaking to like feel so lonely in the same house as the one person that you love and you care about, you know? And I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I left. He did like immediately, like, start seeing other people. But then, like, going back to like my beliefs of a relationship, it's just like the nuclear family, was really important to me, you know? And it was just so hard for me to like give up on this idea of being a family and like raising my kid without his dad, you know? Like, so we never really, like, I was living with my parents, but like, we never really stopped talking. And during this time, you know, it's like, he was the person that I saw in the beginning, you know, and we would go out and we would have fun and everything would be great. And like, you know, like he'd like apologize and say all the right things. And like, and then we ended up sleeping together. It was like the only time that we'd ever used protection. It was like shredded. Like there was like nothing left. And like, I was like, how did that happen? You know? Like the one time that we've ever used protection, and then I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. That one time, before I found out that I was pregnant, I had gone up there, and it was right before Thanksgiving, and I was going to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving. He just made me feel so guilty about leaving him alone on Thanksgiving. You know, like, you're taking my son, and like all this, like, so the whole time I was at my aunt's, like, I just felt like this pit in my stomach. Like, I couldn't even enjoy myself because I felt so guilty for like leaving him alone on Thanksgiving. And so like the morning after Thanksgiving, I had left like really early in the morning. It was like a 4-hour drive. So I had left, really early in the morning so that I can be there and spend the day with him. And I showed up and there was a girl in his bed. Like, there was a girl there, and it's like, wow, like you made me feel so guilty for leaving you alone, but you're not alone. Like, you're with someone else, At that point, like, I learned that I was pregnant. So, I decided to move back in because I don't want to be a single mom of 2 kids, And like, again, like, he was apologizing and saying all the right things and like, please, like, I want to be the dad for like my kids and all this stuff. So again, I moved back in. Everything was at first, like, for like the first month, like, it was perfect. It was everything that it should be, like we were doing things together, and like, we had the farm still, like, we were doing farmers market and we were part of the community, and he would like tell everyone like, oh, like, everything is so good, like, like, blah, blah, blah. But that, it only lasted for like a month. And then I don't know where to start. Like, he started like just degrading me, like my physical appearance. Like, I remember we were driving once and he looked over to me and he said like, wow, like, your skin is really old. Like, you look like you're aging, like, just out of nowhere. Or like, we would be talking and he'd be like, wow, your hair looks really stupid, or like I felt like he was embarrassed by me. Like, I was just like terrible and ugly and stupid. Like, and then also, like, again, I was like a crazy pregnant person. And it was like every conversation that we had, he began to like, he would like dictate it back to me. So like, we would finish a conversation and he would say like, I can't believe you said this and this. And like, you were yelling at me the whole time. And I would think like, wow, like, I don't remember saying any of that. I don't remember yelling at all, And like, again, it was just like, he like, I was the crazy pregnant person. It got to the point where I started recording our conversations. Like, every conversation I had, I would just like on my phone record it so that I could listen back to it. Because like, his interpretation of the conversation and what I had experienced were so drastically different. I remember like having a conversation with my aunt, and like she said like, oh, like, I was on speakerphone, and then she said like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. And then like, she's, she had said something else, and then she hung up. And like, he was like, wow, like, you didn't even tell her that you loved her, like how could you just not tell your aunt that you loved her? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did, but like, even if I didn't, like, she knows that I love her. Like, why are you making such a big deal out of it? And I just felt like he was just trying to like make me question like my own actions,
So at this point, you are back in the relationship. You're going to be having a second child. And the honeymoon of being back is over. These things the gaslighting is happening a lot. You are, I guess, losing, or are you're starting to lose the sense of reality or sense of what is being said. You're being told how you're behaving, your emotions, and now you're recording things. So you're also, again, being told that you're hormonal. So eventually you're going to have this child. And when does, I guess, the beginning of the end occur?
Like, there was never any resolve, right? Like, he would just like storm off, and then he would come back and I'd be asleep, and like, he would he would like turn the lights off and rip the sheets off and be like, you have to get out of the house right now. And this, he did this like several times, and it was just like so jarring. And then just like the arguments, like everything would be fine and we'd be getting along. And then we'd have like such a minor disagreement. And, like all of a sudden, like things were terrible and we hated each other and it was never going to work, and it's like, it was so like black and white, like either things were great or things were awful and we hated each other and it was never going to work. And I just like, how am I supposed to feel secure in a relationship when he's so unwilling to work on anything and just so willing to just like discard the whole situation over some minor disagreement, And then there was this one instance where I'm not even sure what we were arguing about, but he took my my phone and my laptop and my car keys, and he told me I need to sit in my room and think about what I've done. I'm like, wow, like I'm not a child, like this is insane. So I found my spare key, and I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, I need to leave. So I ran out to the car and I started it and I started driving down. We had a really long driveway and I started driving down, and he jumped on top of the car and like would not get off of the car. He would not let me leave my house. But I really just felt like a prisoner, like I couldn't leave. I couldn't have friends over. I couldn't have money. Like even like the farm that we started, he would not allow me to have any of the money. Like after every market, he would pocket all of the money. The very last straw. Oh, well, okay. So the very last straw, he and I had gotten into an argument, and he told me like that he was texting this girl and that she was going to cut his hair. And so he was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to go get a haircut from her. And I'm like, what? Like, we're in the middle of an argument and you're going to go hang out with this girl? She just lost her job and like, I really want to be supportive. And then later he had said that she was going to give him a free haircut. So I was like, how are you supporting her by getting a free haircut, And it didn't make sense. Like, it didn't add up to me. And like, why in any case, like you would go hang out with this person in the middle of an argument. And it just didn't make sense. And so I never looked through his phone before, but I was feeling really untrusting. And I wanted to see like the conversation between them, to see like what was really happening, like, cause he had left his phone behind. And then when I did, I had seen a number that he was texting that he hadn't saved. So I was trying to figure out who this text was from. And I ended up getting to a point where there was a text that said, that I was abusing him and that he needed to break up with me. And like, I was like about to have a baby, and like, I was so confused. It was from his sister, and she was convinced that I was abusing him. And obviously, like, I had to confront him about this, and he got home and I said, like, please give me one explicit example of something that I have done that can possibly be interpreted as abuse. Like, please, I would like to, like, if I'm so unaware that I don't even realize that I'm being abusive, like, please tell me so that I can do better. And he just told me like, oh, like, my family just sees like how unhappy I am. And like, that you need to apologize to my family for making me so miserable and so unhappy. And I said, like, okay, but like you being miserable does not equate to me being abusive. Like, I need a specific example. Like, if you can give me an example of something that I've done, I will happily apologize. And he couldn't do it. And so, so clearly, like, whatever he is telling them, is not aligning with what he's telling me. And it's also not aligning with my experience. So that for me was it, you know, like I can't continue to be in a relationship with someone who's accusing me of being abusive. Like, so I said, that's it. I'm done, you know? And then the next morning I had gone out to breakfast with, the two friends that he forbid me from seeing. And when I got back, we had lived in this house. It was in the country and there was no locks on any of the doors. And for the 2 years we were there, I was like, please put locks on the doors. Like, I don't feel safe. And when I got back from breakfast, he had put locks on all of the doors. And my son, who was 3 years old at this point, they were locked inside and they would not let me in the house. And they were watching me from inside the window, and he was screaming, like, your mom, she's a bad person. She's a bad person. Like, she's a bitch. Like, she's a bad person. And like, he eventually let me in, and he said that if my things if I wasn't packed and gone by 8 a.m. the next morning, then all of my things would be in the driveway. And at this point, my daughter was 1 month old. I had a 1 month old and a 3-year-old. And it's not just my things, it's their things as well, you know? So, I packed up everything and I moved the next day. I left a lot. I left most of my things, but I took the kids and like our clothes and toys and I left.
And where did you go? And what happened after when it came to custody and things along those lines?
The people that I had been working for at the restaurant, they had a little studio apartment behind their house, and they had offered that for my kids and I to stay there for until I, you know, could figure it out. They weren't charging me rent. I moved in there. They had a bakery as well, so they offered me a baking position when I was able to go back to work, because at that point my daughter was only 1 month old, so I wasn't ready to go back to work. But they had told me that I could bake, and the baking shift was like in the middle of the night, right? So that was the plan. I was only there for a few months. I had a friend. I had an old friend from high school, and he was up there a lot. And my ex had found out, and he became really jealous. And he came over to my apartment. My friend wasn't there at the time, but my ex walks in and starts gathering all of the things that he feels belong to him. Like, he had purchased a baby swing for my daughter. He grabbed the baby swing. He started rifling through my doors and throwing things. There was a cow skull that my sister had given to me at Christmas that he had painted, and so he took that. And then there was a rug that he really liked. So he went and he grabbed the rug, and I was like, that's not yours. That's not yours. And I went to go grab the rug, and he had shoved me over the bed, and there was a toy chest at the end, and I ended up falling on the toy chest and onto the floor. And my daughter was sleeping on the bed at this time, And so then he ended up walking out, and I locked the doors. And then he was trying to get back in, and he was pacing back and forth, like, let me in, let me in. But I had called the cops at this point because I was by myself, and like I felt very unsafe. And while I was on the phone with them, he opened one of the windows. One of the windows was unlocked or unlatched, and he grabs my son, my 3-year-old son, and he pulls him out of the window. And then he realizes I'm on the phone, and he says, like, are you calling the cops? Are you calling the cops? And he puts my son back, and he drives away. So at that point, I filed for a restraining order, which was, I was granted a temporary restraining order. We went to court for custody, and I had, my parents paid for a lawyer. And we went, and the day came, and he didn't show up. He never came. So I was granted full legal and physical custody of both of my kids. And then, like a couple months later, he files for custody again. So we had to go back. And like in the midst of this, he had sent me pictures of his car. And like he had a hose attached to the exhaust pipe and in through the window, and he had been threatening to kill himself. And I had brought that to court, saying like, okay, like this person is like either suicidal or like, frankly, I'm well aware that it is a manipulation tactic. I don't genuinely think he was trying to kill himself. I think that he was trying to get me to feel sorry for him. But either way, like I don't I don't think that that's normal or okay. And like I didn't feel safe like leaving my young children alone with him. So I brought that to the court, and then we ended up settling on supervised visitation. I said like we could either do it at like there's like a place where you can go to have like supervised visit, but he has to pay for that. So then I said like you can see them at your mom's house, right? But that didn't work. He never showed up because if it wasn't on his terms, you know, like said like, oh, I'm not even able to like take them places or do things or like parade them around town to show everyone what a good dad I am, you know? So he just didn't show up. So that was a situation for a while. He just didn't see them. And then of course, you know, he would tell everyone that I'm keeping his kids from him. And that's still the narrative to this day, you know, like that I'm keeping his kids from him, and which is absolutely not the case. Like despite everything, like I know that my son really loves his dad. And I've always tried to work with him. There was a time where he was living like 90 minutes away, and I would drive the kids to his house. Like once they got a little bit older, we started doing like weekend visitations. So I would drive them an hour and a half each way on Friday, and then pick them up on Sunday. So, you know, I would spend like 6 hours of my weekend driving around so that my kids could see their dad. But still there's like this narrative of me not allowing the kids to see them. And I think that's the most difficult and frustrating part of the whole thing is like that whole experience was awful, and it really sucked to have to deal with all that. But it's the narrative. It's his narrative that I am bad and evil and abusive, and that I'm keeping his kids from him, and that I'm a terrible mother. Like that's the most painful part, you know. I really tried, you know, and it sucks. Like you can go your whole life trying to be like a good person and a good friend and a good partner and a good mom, but like you piss off the wrong person and they will make it their mission to destroy your reputation. And that's the most painful thing about everything. It's just, it's like, despite everything, I continue to try to work with this person. I mean, we've been split up for like 6.5 years. And for the most part, I try not to spend too much time or energy thinking about it. But recently, he's been living with this woman for about 6 months. They moved in pretty quickly together, and about a month ago, she had been arrested for a domestic dispute, and I was talking. Several people had told me about the incident, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he referred to her as his abuser, and it really was just so deeply triggering to me, because I don't really know this person very well, and she's very good to my kids. And so when I heard that there was this incident, and from my personal experiences, I just I know that he pushed her until she snapped. I know, I don't believe that because he's saying that she just attacked him out of nowhere. That's his narrative. And I don't believe that for one minute. And I really wish, because, I'm sure that she thinks that I'm this crazy abusive person, but now she's the crazy abusive girlfriend,
So now that we are here in your life and you're still dealing with this, do you have any words of wisdom for everyone listening for what you went through?
Sometimes you have to be the villain in someone else's story. And I've spent years and years trying to understand this person, but you can't make sense of the irrational. So I guess just don't give away any more of your power. Just focus on yourself and your being the best version that you can be, because you're never going to change this person or their narrative about you.
Well, Canva, I want to thank you for being a guest on our show today and sharing your story. What you did today isn't easy. I know you were really nervous at the beginning of this recording, so a big thank you. You're going to help a lot of people, because your story is one that we don't hear a lot on our show when it comes to reactive abuse. And dealing with that and explaining it in a way that people can understand, not just people who have gone through it, but for people who might be listening who have never gone through this and don't understand the ins and outs of everything. So really big thank you for being with us here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you for sharing. And if people want to be a guest on our show like Canva was today, please do go to narcissistapocalypse.com. Top of the page, there's a button that says guest form. Click on that button, takes you to our guest form page, and you will read all of our instructions there. Please send us an email at narcissistapocalypse@gmail.com or fill out our guest form and press the submit button. Also at our website, we have our very own support group. So if you want to join our very own safe social network, top of the page at narcissistapocalypse.com, there's a support group button. You click on it and it takes you to our support group. I've said it many times now. And we have ad-free episodes. We have episodes that never made it to air, and we have Zoom meetings every Wednesday night and Saturday night, and every other Thursday afternoon. We have forum boards for you to reach out and talk with people and get the support that you need. Also, if you need even more support than what we're offering at narcissistapocalypse.com, you can go to our friends at domesticshelters.org, where they have some free resources for you. They have articles that you can read. They have local resources on there if you need to get a hold of a shelter. It's just a great organization, domesticshelters.org. They help a lot of people. It's a free resource, so please do go to domesticshelters.org today. And that is it for our show today. A big thank you to Canva. And from Canva and myself, we hope you have a good night.